I'm Jeff Brown, and this is Master Oogway, and we're back to talk to you about some more biases. Now, in the past, we talked about how biases are created by the brain to put us in a world that it favors ourselves.
His strength's too much. Oh, I work out. Well, it's really paying off. You're so fit and strangely charismatic.
Now, there's another type of bias that comes from the way the brain learns. It has to do with shortcuts that the brain takes. Now, whenever the brain actually sees two things happening at the same time, it will automatically start making a connection between those.
Altoid?
Sure.
Intoid?
Input? Yes.
What are you doing? What?
I don't know. Well, my mouth tastes so bad all of a sudden. Raw.
Now, unfortunately, because of that, our brain starts to make associations that may or may not be good. Advertisers actually use this all the time to create positive associations with their product. Coke is an example of this. If you look at their commercials over the last 30, 40, 50 years, you can see that they're trying to associate Coke with happiness. They'll show you images of happiness, 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 and then they'll add the Coke in there.
You're gonna be remembered for the things that you say you do.
It's kind of like the sound, add the Altoid. So your brain automatically starts connecting Coke with happiness, regardless of what you really think about it. The phrase that a lot of neuroscientists use is that neurons, or brain cells, that fire together will wire together. Now, it happens whether you give permission or not. Now, because it happens without our permission, we can start to form associations about people or groups of people that might not be good, actually. And these associations are sometimes called stereotypes.
I somehow know that if you say peanut butter, I'm going to say jelly. That's an association that's been ingrained in me because throughout my life, peanut butter and jelly are together. And in many forms of media, there is an over-representation of black men and violent crime being paired together.
And because of that, I actually deep down inside have been taught that black men are violent and aggressive and not to be trusted, that they're criminals, that they're thugs.
With all those associations, I'm not trying to let us off the hook, but in some ways, none of us stood a chance.
Now, this can be both a negative stereotype and a positive stereotype. But either way, a negative or a positive stereotype is not very useful.
And I play both the piano and the violin. I aspire to someday be a doctor, and my favorite subject is calculus. So my question for you now is, how long did it take you to figure out I was joking?
Now, even if it's a positive stereotype, that still can be a bad thing because you're not really seeing people for who they are. You're seeing them as a stereotype.
I could give you my word as a Spaniard.
No good. I've known too many Spaniards.
Is there any way you'll trust me?
Nothing comes to mind.
Now, just because your brain makes these negative associations does not mean you're a bad person.
Can I say, Zangief, you are a bad guy, but this does not mean you're a bad guy?
It means that these are things that your brain automatically does. Now, you do need to be aware of these things so you can combat them so that you can actually have better relationships and better understanding about people instead of just these shortcuts that your brains like to take.
What are you going to tell me next? That the turtles aren't evil?
No, they're usually pets.
No way.
Master Oogway would just like to say that we need to end that harmful stereotype about turtles being evil, and he himself would never do anything that is evil in the slightest. Right? I don't know where that footage came from. What the heck? Now, if every image that we saw of turtles was evil, you start to see turtles as evil, even if it's just in make-believe fictitious settings.
I'll make you mine.
which is why it's important that we take a look at the things that we watch and see if there are the stereotypes in them. A lot of people think we're being overly sensitive when we think that old Disney movies or old commercials or even old children's books, because it does perpetuate stereotypes every time we see these things, and it keeps us from moving on. Because remember, every association that you see with things creates a connection in your brain whether you want it to or not.
What?
I don't know. My mouth tastes so bad all of a sudden.
Master Oogway is again threatening to jump off the desk if you don't subscribe and like, so make sure that you do that so that I can talk him off the edge here.
Peaches, 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 peaches. Ah! Love you. Oh.